there's something very thrilling about a big organ playing a big piece. It can really make you go, you know, make all the hairs on the back of your neck stand up and end. But if you've got a little gentle piece played on some of the softer stops, it can be very moving. I don't think the general public know about organs, and they see that bit in the front there, and they think that's all there is. They don't realise what's in behind, and I don't think they're not appreciated, particularly in this country.
It's important to remember that they are sort of living things, and they constantly change, and the constant improvements can be made and developments made, and they get better, and modern technology adds to it, because computerized control of which stops you want out at any given time to control the different sounds that you make it far easier than just having to pull handfuls of stops out willy-nilly, which can slow you down a bit if you have to do that. So it's an ongoing process of development over about 300 years.
Because the parishes don't have the money, there aren't the organists these days. I mean, even big churches with massive organs who manage with whichever organist they can find at the time. They don't have the permanent organists. And because there's not the money in the churches, the organs aren't tuned as regularly. As I say, it's a very poorly paid profession. And people don't seem to care.
It gets harder to play as you get older. And the other thing, which I've only just started recently to notice, I don't know what this has got to do with anything, it's harder to turn the pages. The pages get stuck together more often than they did. I think that's probably an age thing as well. The moral of this story is watch what you eat and don't get old. Generally speaking, although young people are just as interested, I suspect, in religion as they ever were, the more traditional style of Anglican worship might not be quite as appealing, and therefore they might not be coming in quite the numbers that they once did. I suspect that's true. So the musical instrument side of it, I think, probably should be okay. The side of it where the organ is specifically used as an aid to religious practice, that in smaller churches, in the sort of non-cathedral sector, may be in slightly more trouble, because quite often organs aren't being properly maintained because there's no one to play them. And if they're not maintained, then they very quickly deteriorate and won't last.
In the hands of a good player, you know, a pipe organ can just be amazing. No other word for it. They can be really very spiritual.
I think very, very importantly that the major world religions, with possible exceptions, but pretty much across the board, have always taught that spirituality is not simply a matter of the individual themselves, but also the individual themselves and the beyond, the out there, the transcendent. And we can, I think, grasp something, even if it's only allegorically, of what that means through music. I'm a strong believer that if you're a person who spends the day in the company of the radio, and it's Radio 1 or Radio 2 or even Classic FM, then the sort of music you get in church is going to be quite a lot different from that. And there is something spiritually enabling, I think, about being in a different environment and listening to different sounds with a whole different emphasis and all that entails.
I would like to think it will still be here when my daughter's as old as I am, and she can say, yeah, my parents had something to do with that, you know.
you've got to let them hear it, and potentially, of course, give them a go. It's quite often been the case that people have been a bit too prissy about who can and can't play. But it's important that sort of attitude is left behind, because that won't do anyone any good. But it would be wrong of me to say it's disappeared completely, because I'm sure it hasn't. I would like to see the organ being offered more as an instrument to young people to study, but of course it does require that an organ be available for them to play on. So I think it's very important that they get the opportunity to listen and to play themselves. Because if they get that, I think it is quite often the case they quite quickly get bitten by the bug.